Hey everyone, good morning. Today we're going to talk about Vendor Central and Seller Central and which one's more profitable. If you are a Vendor Central supplier, you're likely questioning whether or not it makes sense to move to Seller Central every year when you receive your pitch or your terms renewal. And I'm here to show you how easy that process can be if you're in the middle of the decision-making process on what to do, right? Stay in Vendor Central or migrate some or all of your catalog over to Seller Central. So the first thing I want to do is Google Amazon Seller Central FBA revenue calculator. That will take, you can continue as a guest. You don't need a Seller Central yet to review this. And you can begin by plugging in your ASINs here or just search for them by product title. I'm going to go through an example of an ASIN that's part of a brand that we've migrated over to Seller Central. Here we go. So this item was previously a retail product with a lower price point, I think maybe even $2 lower than this. And if you're familiar with Vendor Central, you'll know that they effectively require doubling of wholesale cost and retail cost relationship or keystone. So let's say if the item was $10, you likely would be unsuccessful selling it to Amazon Vendor Central for more than $5. And they pay you $5 less all of your terms, right? So you have your MDF, your marketing co-op allowance, your freight allowance, you have damage defective allowance, and you also have quick pay or early pay terms likely. And Amazon's paying you otherwise in 90 or 120 days. So right off the bat, one thing that's important to note with Seller Central is you get paid every 2 weeks. You don't have to wait 3 and 4 months to get paid. Or, some of you may be on 60-day terms. But here's an item that's got a nearly $10 selling price. It's going to provide a referral fee. And this is FBA, by the way. This is FBM. Right, so Amazon fulfillment, your fulfillment, fulfilled by merchant versus fulfilled by Amazon. You'll notice the Amazon fee, it's a percentage based off of the selling price, so it's going to be a constant regardless of FBA or FBM. On the FBA side, you're also going to have fulfillment costs, which are associated with Amazon shipping the customer the order, right, from their network. You'll have a storage fee. You also have an inbound cost. That inbound cost is small parcel LTL to go from you to the Amazon fulfillment network. And it'll spit out a bunch of fees. You can put your cost of goods sold here. You're not going to know your returns. We'll get to that in a minute. And then it's going to spit out your net profit, right? So for many of you who, let's say you've got an item similar to this, your wholesale price is half of your retail, you'd have to pay Amazon, 14 or maybe even upwards of 20% in fees beyond this number on the Vendor Central side. So immediately you should be able to determine whether or not this is more profitable on the per item level. One thing to consider with Seller Central, there's a significantly fewer amount of lost inventory claims, and you immediately rid yourself of that issue with provision for receivables and Amazon claiming there's shortages on shipments. So a lot of that goes away. You do see it every once in a while on FBM, but it's not to the same effect that it is in Vendor Central. On the FBM side, this is if you were to drop ship, you'll notice there's fewer fees taken out, and that's because they expect you to pay for shipping. Now, you can buy your shipping through Seller Central, or you could also use your own UPS, FedEx, USPS account. And you can see your net proceeds here without consideration of that freight cost to go to the customer. You're not going to have the Prime badge. Strong argument can be made that you need that in terms of the delivery promise and when the customer will expect it, to receive that item. FBM, all things being equal, does not perform the same way as FBA and or retail offer where it ships from Amazon. The 2-day promise is not generally there unless you do seller fulfilled Prime, and honestly, few people actually can uphold the metrics to maintain that unless you're a professional distribution house. So one thing that you need to take into consideration with this FBA model, is returns. So in Vendor Central, you have a return allowance, and generally speaking, most people don't know their actual rate of return due to that allowance and the confusing reporting inside Vendor Central. You're going to find that out, good or bad, when you move to FBA, because you will be absorbing the blow of those returns. Now, the nice thing is, between some of the reports of one called Voice of the Customer and just reviewing your return reasons and replacement reasons, you can see kind of like where the problem areas exist and make those improvements and lower that return rate. Could be your packaging, could be instructions, could be customer confusion due to images, but it'll come out in the wash, and the reporting is significantly better on the Seller Central side. I'm not going to go through that today, but that's important to know. One thing you need to take into consideration is low-priced items like this. This is a small item, right? So it's very little, fits at the end of a baseball bat. You can see here in 2 inches and very little weight, right? So when you consider the size and the weight, the FBA fees here at $291 are minimal relative to the selling price. Now, if you had a larger item or a heavier item, right? So this glass that is maybe the same $10 item, but it may ship at a pound, and it's has a little bit more length. At the longest image, maybe the longest dimension might be over 7 inches, 8 inches. You're going to see this fulfillment fee relative to the item cost be very high, and it won't work necessarily the economics unless you're selling that product in a multi-pack. So you may need to consider a multi-pack strategy when you shift your business from 1P to 3P. Additionally, if you're selling very heavy items, right? Furniture, TVs, bicycles. So I'm just talking about something that's in a large box that maybe, 4 feet at the longest dimension, way over 30 pounds. Your inbound cost to FBA, they're not going to be 36 cents. They could be multiple dollars. And your fulfillment costs and your storage costs are all going to be higher. So if it's a middle-priced ASP item, so $30, $50, $60, it may be difficult to sell something that's long and light, or long and heavy, or small and heavy, or a combination thereof, long and heavy, right? So weight and the dimensional values are determining your fulfillment, your storage costs, and impact your inbound costs, right? Because you may have to ship it freight only. There may only be so many in a pallet. You may have to, label each one of them if it's a single unit case type of a scenario. So in that situation, fulfillment by FBM will work to your advantage. You'll have to ship it on your own. The downside is, you're using likely your own freight rates. You can buy shipping through Amazon and maybe, take advantage of their savings, but you're going to be absorbing that value. So if you're going to be using your own freight relationships, you'll have to figure some sort of an average zone value. A lot of people go with like a zone 5 or 6 value to ship nationwide, but you have to take that into consideration. So some items, if you're shipping all the way across the country, they're going to be more expensive to ship than, stuff that's local to you within a state or two. And you'll have to sort of average that out based on volume. So that can be a little tricky if you're selling heavier items. You may find some of your catalog can be migrated over, get your foot in the pool type of a scenario to move some of the items over to Seller Central and understand that business and understand the reporting. But this tool is great for reviewing your profitability and determining whether or not stuff makes sense and if you can move. So hopefully this video was helpful for some or all of you. If you have questions, please reach out and look for more videos. Thank you.